Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sam and today I'm going to go over all the books I read in March. So because it was middle grade March, I did read mostly middle grade books, but there was one book that I read that was not middle grade. So I will talk about that one first. The first book I read, I don't have a copy of it. I got it from the library, so I had to return it, but that was called Black Cake. And I'll put a picture of it because I don't remember who the author is. But that one follows two siblings, Byron and Benny, and their mother passes away and leaves them a bunch of videos explaining the mother's history and everything she went through to get to the point of having a family. And it was just something that the kids knew nothing about because they had basically been lied to about it to protect their mother's identity. So, yeah, I don't really want to give it away, but it's like a family drama with some mystery, but it was a really good read. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So, if you're looking for something that's not super heavy, but something that will definitely keep your interest, that's a good one. Okay, and then there's 2 books for middle grade March that I did not complete yet, but I'm at least halfway, so I wanted to include them. So The Night Gardener is one of them by Jonathan Auxier. And this is a horror middle grade book. It's about 2 orphans. They go to this creepy house because they need to work, and it's in the middle of nowhere. And once they're there, they have nightmares every night. And they keep seeing this figure in the dark with a tall hat and this like creepy guy. And the family that they work for that lives in the house, they are very pale and they just look off. So, yeah, it was a very atmospheric book, but it also is very dark, and I just wasn't in the mood to finish it this month. So, I will hopefully be finishing it before it has to be returned, but yeah, it's just not what I'm in the mood for right now. Okay, and then Ban This Book by Alan Gratz. This one is really good. It's about basically about a girl. Her favorite book gets banned from her school library and she doesn't understand why. So she decides that she's going to go to the board meeting and say something about it to try to get them to keep her favorite book. But when she gets there, she chickens out and doesn't do it. So what happens is there's other kids who they start talking about all the banned books. And then they say, hey, I have this book and I have this book. And they end up having their own little library in the locker of our main character. And they kind of check out books so that they can like read them, even though they're banned. So that's as far as I got so far. But I really did enjoy it. And I listened to this on audiobook, so I really liked the narrator as well. Yeah, I just didn't get to it. I didn't get to finish it, but I will be finishing this hopefully this month. Okay, and then the next books that I read are The Bad Guys by Erin Blaby. And this is the 3rd book, but I also read the 1st and 2nd one because I homeschool. So I read this to my 3-year-old, 5-year-olds, and 10-year-old because they all love it. So it's like kind of written like a graphic novel, so it's a quick read and it's nice for the kids because the little ones, because they see all the pictures, but also they remember a lot from the stories, which is nice. So what I like about these is they kind of go into issues that are going on, but they do it in a very light way and kind of a fun way. So I'll just briefly go over the 3 of them. So the first one, we have the bad guys who are all trying to be good. So they decide to go to a kennel or like a shelter, an animal shelter, and they let loose like 200 dogs. And, they that kind of brings to light the problem with, so many animals being in the shelters. And then the second book follows the bad guys rescuing a bunch, like thousands of chickens from a chicken farm where it's not cage free. So the chickens are kept in these little cages where they can't turn around or anything. So it talks about that, and they let them all free. But then they find out that the chicken farm is owned by a little guinea pig, and he gets mad, obviously, because they released all his chickens. And so in this book, the guinea pig lures them into a woods, in the middle of the woods, and says there's like an emergency, and they get trapped, basically. And yeah, it's kind of like how they escape and stuff like that. So these are really fun. If you have middle graders, I'm sure you probably heard of these, but yeah, these are just like quick reads. And then I read Mr. Popper's Penguins for a book that's older than me, and I really enjoyed this one. I listened to it on audio. And basically it's about a man who's a painter, and he really loves everything about the Antarctic. And there's one specific, I think, an explorer that he follows all the time. Like, he reads about him, and his name is Admiral Drake. And basically Admiral Drake ends up sending him a gift, and it's a penguin. So he keeps the penguin, but over time the penguin gets sad and lonely. So they send him a girl penguin. Then they have babies. So then they have like 12 penguins. And then he gets brought to like Broadway and stuff to perform with the penguins, and he gets an offer whether, to stay out there so that he can do shows with the penguins, and he'll make enough money that he never has to worry about working again. Or then he has an opportunity where he can send them all back so they can live free. And so he has to make the choice whether to keep them basically for his own personal use. I mean, he loves them, of course, but also he knows that that's not the environment that they're used to. Okay, and then I read Roller Girl by Victoria Jameson. And this was really interesting. It was a fun read. So it follows our main character named Astrid. And she has a best friend. I think her name's Nicole. So her and Nicole are best friends. They do everything together. And then one day, Astrid's mom takes them to a roller derby. And Astrid falls in love. She wants to sign up for the camp and everything. And she just assumes that Nicole wants to do it as well. Well, Nicole is not interested in everything that goes along with roller derby. She's like, that looks like it hurts. I don't want anything to do with it. But then Astrid ends up signing up, and then she ends up having to do it alone, which she's not happy about. She gets mad at Nicole, and things get awkward between the two. And to make matters worse, Nicole is in a ballet camp with a girl from school who's really mean to Astrid, or she used to be in the past. But it turns out, like, through the book, she's rude to her as well. But basically, it's just about having a best friend, and how sometimes, you're going to have things that you want to do separate, but that doesn't mean you still can't be good friends. So this is it's a graphic novel. So it's a quick read, and it's a good one as well. And then another graphic novel I read that's also by Victoria Jameson and Omar Muhammad is When Stars Are Scattered. This one was really good. A lot heavier than the last graphic novel, but it follows Omar, I think. Omar and Hassan. Yeah. And Omar is the older brother. Hassan is the younger brother who has health problems from basically when they had to make that walk to the refugee camp when they were little, and bad things were happening in their hometown. So they went to the refugee camp, expecting that their mother would come for them someday. And then also different families get a choice to be relocated to, I think, Canada or the US. So this is basically just about their journey of waiting in the refugee camp to see if they will be relocated to the US. And that's their dream. That's what they want to do. Omar ends up going to the school in the camp, and he's really smart and he does really well. And then I don't want to give anything away, but they end up having a mom, a stepmom kind of, who takes care of them in the refugee camp. Her name is Fatuma, and she's very good to them. And she's in a tent right across from them. So this is just a story about everything that they dealt with in the refugee camps and how they had to just wait around basically to see what was going to happen next and to take it day by day. Okay, and then I read Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Altson. And I have been hearing about this book so much, like from everybody. I've never heard anything bad about it. So I decided to read it, and it was really good. Basically, it's about Amari. Her older brother Quentin goes missing, I think when he's at this camp, but she finds like a box or a suitcase in his closet, and it says her name on it, but don't open until summer break. So she opens it on her break, and then she gets dragged into this magical world that she knew nothing about. Basically, the camp that he went to was not actually a camp. It's more like a school for magicians or magical creatures. And she finds out that she's a magician, but magicians are looked down upon in this school because the people who keep trying to attack the school are magicians. So, but the whole reason she went there is to try to find out what happened to her brother. So we go on her journey through the school and her first year there. And there's a second one coming out, I believe, this year. So, but yeah, this one is really good. If you've been thinking about picking this up, you should pick it up. Okay, then I read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the first one, by J.K. Rowling. And this one I was reading with my daughter, and I have seen the first 3 movies, so this one was kind of like the exact same because, you know, it's the first one, so it has to go over basically similar things with the movie and the book. So it wasn't very different for me, but I still enjoyed it. And I look forward to when I get to like 4 through 7 because I've never seen those movies, so I'll watch them first. Or no, I'm sorry, I'll read those first. But yeah, this one's good. I'm sure everyone knows the story of Harry Potter at this point. Okay, and then the last 2, I don't have physical copies, so I read The New Kid, which is also a graphic novel, and it's about a 7th grade boy transferring to a new school where he is, it's a mainly white school and he's black, so it just kind of shows his journey through that, like how he didn't really feel like he fit in, and then how some of the teachers would say certain remarks that weren't exactly rude, but they weren't exactly appropriate, and it was just basically all the things he experienced and how he dealt with everything. I think that was one of the books on the banned list that recently was out as well, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good read. I thought it was funny at times, like the way it's written, it's funny, and because it's a graphic novel, it makes it more, I guess, more fun to read that way. So yes, that one's good. And then the last one is called Red, White, and Whole, which is written in verse. And that one follows an Indian American girl who's born in the U.S., but she has very much close ties with her heritage. She has certain outfits she has to wear. You know, she has traditions she follows and different foods that they eat. And yeah, she just talks about how she doesn't really feel at home even though she was born in the U.S. The way she dresses and stuff, people assume that she may not speak English, although she speaks English very well. And then when she goes back to India to visit, she also doesn't always feel at home because I guess they speak a lot of different languages there, and she's not familiar with them all. So it's just, I think she's in eighth grade, so it's just like a weird time. And then she convinces her mom to go to the dance when she's an eighth grader, and her mom allows her to reluctantly go to the dance. But during that time, her mom ends up getting sick. So then we follow her basically going through that as an eighth grader and just how she coped with it. It is a very good book. It was hard to read at times, but I enjoyed it. Okay, so that was everything that I read in March, and I definitely wanted to get more in, but it is what it is. I got a decent amount in, so I'm happy with what I did. What did you read in March? Let me know. Or if you're thinking about reading any of these, or if you're continuing to read middle grade books through next month, maybe you didn't finish. So, yeah, just let me know anything in the comments. I'd love to chat with you. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.